Wildcat. Today we're at Journal page 47, Understanding Quadratic Functions. A function that can be represented in the form f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c is called a quadratic function. The parent quadratic function is f of x equals x squared. The curve of a quadratic function is called a parabola. The vertex of a parabola is the highest point maximum or the lowest point minimum. So here you have a parabola, the vertex maximum, and here is your axis of symmetry. And then here you have, again, a parabola, the vertex minimum, x equals axis of symmetry. All right, let's move on to the first example. All right, select the graph of the quadratic function g of x equals 5x squared. All right, so we're going to graph this in yellow. Okay, so to do this, we're going to use our calculator. So I'm going to go to add graph. Type in 5x squared. Okay. Now we want our graph to match the page. Okay. So we need to adjust the window settings. Okay. So our x min is going to be -6. Our x max is going to be 6. Our y min, x scale is going to be 1. Our y min is going to be, looks like -50. Y max is going to equal 450. And the y scale is going to be counting by 50s. Okay. So now let me show you how you adjust your calculator to do so. Okay, so I'm going to go to Menu, Window Zoom, Window Settings. All right, so then that's -6, 6, 1, -50, 450, 50. All right, press OK. And then you can see that this graph best matches answer choice A. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next example. All right, example 2. And again, we're going to graph this in yellow. All right, so we're going to go to, always want to start a new document. So on, new document, no, add graph. We're going to graph 1 divided by 5 x squared. Okay, and then we need to adjust the window. So we have x min, it looks like is -6. Our x max is equal to 6. Our x scale is counting by ones. Our y min is, it looks like -1. Y max is equal to 10. And the y scale equals 1. Okay, so let's go back to our calculator. We're going to go to Menu, Window Zoom, Window Settings. So -6, 6, 1, -1, 10, 1. Okay. And you can see that this graph best matches B. All right, let's move on to the next. All right, so again, we're going to graph this in yellow. Okay, and then whenever you graph, you always want to go to New Document, No, Add Graph. So we're going to graph -4x squared. All right, and then we need to adjust our window. So x min is -6. our x max is 6. Our x scale is by ones. Our y min is, looks like, negative 400. Our y max is 40. And y scale equals 40. Okay. So let's go back to our calculator. We're going to go to Menu, Window Zoom, Window Settings. So then that's negative 661, negative 400, 40, and 40. All right, and you can see that that graph best matches choice C. All right, go ahead and finish up that example. All right, let's go ahead and graph this. And again, we're going to graph this in yellow. Always want to go to New Document. No, go to Add Graph. Negative, Control, Divide, 1 divided by 5, x squared. All right, now we need to adjust our window. So our x min equals negative 6. Our x max equals 6. Our x scale is 1. Our y min equals negative 10. Our y max equals 1. And our y scale is counting by ones. All right, so let's adjust our window. We're going to go to Menu, Window Zoom, Window Settings. So negative 661, negative 10, 1, 1. All right. And we can see that that graph best matches A. All right, let's take a look at the next example. All right. Example 8. Determine the equation of the parabola graphed. To determine it, we're going to use the equation g of x equals ax squared, which can be also written as y equals ax squared. Now, they give us the x value, x equals negative 2, and y equals 20. Now, we're going to substitute these values in here and solve for a. So that's 20 equals a, parentheses. Whenever you square a number, put in parentheses, negative 2 squared. So then that's 20 equals a times negative 2 squared is 4. We're going to solve for a, so we're going to divide both sides by 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. That divided becomes 1, so a equals 5. So we can write that y equals 5x squared. And you can also write it as g of x equals 5x squared. I'm boxing this one because I believe they use g of x in the answer form, so g of x equals 5x squared, but either of those is acceptable. All right, let's look at the next example. All right, determine the equation of the parabola graph. Use a fraction for the coefficient of x squared. Okay, so again, we're using g of x equals ax squared. So g of x equals ax squared. Now remember, g of x we can rewrite as y, so y equals ax squared. Now, x is 4, y is negative 4. So plug these numbers in, solve for a. So that's negative 4 equals a times 4 squared. So negative 4 equals a times 16. We're going to divide both sides by 16. That divides and becomes 1. So A equals, and we can actually use our calculator to reduce that. So we're going to go to on, new document, no, add calculator. So we're going to do negative 4 divided by 16 is a negative symbol. Negative 4 divided by 16, which reduces to be negative 1/4. So A equals negative 1 divided by 4. So our equation is y equals negative 1/4 x squared, which, because y and g of x are the same thing, we can rewrite that as g of x equals negative 1/4 x squared. All right, go ahead and finish up that example. All right, let's take a look at the next example. All right. A cannonball fired horizontally appears to travel in a straight line but drops to Earth due to gravity. Just like any object in freefall, the height of the cannonball in freefall is parabolic. The graph shows a change in height of a cannonball in meters as a function of distance traveled in kilometers. Describe what the vertex and endpoint represents. Okay. So the vertex, which is this point right here, okay, is the position of the cannon that fired the cannonball. The end point is the end of the cannonball's trajectory, which is technically the cannonball keeps going, and this is your end point right here, where it hits there. All right. All right. A cannonball fired horizontally appears to travel in a straight line but drops to Earth due to the gravity. Just like any other object in freefall, the height of the cannonball in freefall is parabolic. The graph shows a change of the height of the cannonball in meters as a function of distance traveled in kilometers. Find the function h of d that describes these coordinates. Round your answer in numeric values to determine the two decimal places, so 2 decimal places if necessary. Okay, so we're going to use the form h of d equals ad squared. Okay, so we can rewrite that as h equals ad squared. Okay, now our d value is 0.2 and our height is -2. And it's a little faded, but that's 0.2 and that's -2. Okay. All right, so we plug these numbers in. So that's -2 equals a parentheses d, which is 0.2 squared. So then that's -2 equals, let's use our calculator to see what 0.2 squared is. So 0.2 squared is 0.04. Okay, and then we're going to divide both sides by 0.04. Okay, that divides and becomes 1. So A equals, let's go ahead and plug that in our calculator. So 2 divided by, -2 divided by 0.04 is -50. Okay, so our equation is h equals -50 d squared, which we can rewrite that as h of d equals -50 d squared. All right, go ahead and finish up the last example and go and start working on your assignment and have a wonderful Wildcat day.